It's time to find out if the entire Awakening cast peaked at 8. Let's jump in to see who the first hero is. Okay, our first hero is Robin. Not much of a surprise there, we expected him to be on this banner. Okay, let's start at the top with Fell War Tome. This is going to grant speed +3, and then if Robin initiates combat, or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, he's going to deal 7 damage to the foe as combat begins, so he's going to get 7 burn damage. Then he'll get attack speed and defense and res +X, where X could be up to 15 based off the foe's special cooldown, so if they have a low special cooldown, you'll get a higher amount of stats. You also get to reduce the damage from foe's first attack by 30%, and that is Brave DR. You also neutralize effects that inflict guard. And then finally, if your max special cooldown count is greater than or equal to 3, and that's an offensive special, then when your special triggers, you will completely ignore DR. And then lastly, if unit initiates combat, you get to apply Divine Flame on 5 spaces in a line centered on foe space, oriented left to right, based on the direction the unit is facing for 1 turn. So you essentially get like Flared Sparrow built into your weapon kind of, so that's pretty cool. We then have Ignis, Flash Sparrow, and Magic Gambit 4. So we have Magic Gambit 4. If unit initiates combat or foe's res range equals 2, you inflict speed and res -4 on the foe during combat. And also, if unit or foe's attack can trigger unit special, unit deals +X damage, where X is the unit's max special cooldown count value -2 times 4, a max of 12. And then just like normal Gambit, you'll also get damage reduction based off your max special cooldown, times 10, max of 40% though, instead of 50% like with normal Gambit. So this is kind of an interesting alternative version of Gambit. This is obviously more focused for mages, but it is interesting that it requires you to initiate combat or the foe's range equal to 2, which normal Gambit doesn't have. It also offers a little bit less true damage and a little bit less damage reduction as well, so I guess they're trying to balance it from a ranged playstyle. And then lastly, we have Tip the Scales, Robin's preference skill, which is really powerful. This is what we've seen on Brave Robin. Essentially what this does is lets you support your allies with some stats, as well as that special jump effect, which is really powerful. It also makes Robin extremely mobile, as he can warp to an ally within 5 spaces, and he gets additional stats as well. So the cool thing about this is that one of the big complaints we had about Brave Robin was that he was melee, and he just really didn't have a great position in the meta to fulfill. But as a ranged unit, I think he's going to be doing much, much better. So when it comes to roles for Robin, what does he really want to do? He is a nuke support, which is a very meta role at the moment. He's going to be able to do a lot of damage. He's going to be able to get around damage reduction. He's going to be quite tanky, as he has damage reduction built into Magic Gambit as well. And he also has some burn damage as well, which is cool because as an infantry unit, you don't have access to like, you know, Flared Sparrow or something like that, right? So it's able to allow you to just stack additional damage there. The interesting thing is that he is going into like the Brave Robin niche of like trying to use high cooldown specials. So Flash Sparrow is definitely nice here as well. I think that overall this is going to just be a better version of Brave Robin in most situations, as melee really don't have the best place as nukes, but range are extremely powerful. So I think this is just going to allow Robin to like really excel. And when it comes to game modes, I expect to see him in like Aether Raid's defense and Summoner Duels as well. Maybe Aether Raid's offense as a support, I could definitely see him there because people kind of already use Brave Robin in that situation, and so this Robin could do the same role. But especially in Aether Raid's defense and Summoner Duels, that 5 space warp with Rally Spectrum is really, really powerful, so I could definitely see that being taken advantage of there. Okay, next, it is Emmeryn. Okay, I was actually talking about this with a few people, about Emmeryn being on the banner, but we were talking about like an Emmeryn duo with Krom possibly. Okay, so we have Exalt War Staff. This essentially has Dazzling, it has Slaying, and then if Emmeryn's HP is less than or equal to 60%, or if she's already done combat, or if she's already used her assist skill, allies can move to a space within 2 spaces of her. And this has no range conditions. So this is essentially like a Wings of Mercy almost. It's kind of similar to Rearmed Tana, right? Where Rearmed Tana has that HP condition where she can allow people to warp to her. She gives essentially everybody else Wings of Mercy. But Emmeryn can do that as well. And not only does she has the HP condition, but she also has a much easier condition of just either going into combat or using her rally. This is an extremely powerful effect. We also have all stats +4 to allies within 3 spaces of her during combat. And they restore 7 HP after their combats as well. So very nice healing and stat support. And then finally, if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, she herself will get attack res +6 during combat. She'll get a guaranteed follow-up attack, and she'll get 20% true damage based off her resistance, but does not work with AoEs. This is already a very powerful preference weapon, as it offers a nice amount of support, but also allows her to pack a bit of a punch. Okay, next up we have a new assist skill, Magic Shield Plus. Essentially what this is going to do is going to give you a little bit of healing. It's going to give a visible attack and res +6, and it's going to give the neutralized penalty buff, which is really, really nice. The cool thing though is if she uses it turn 2 onward, she's going to grant herself another action and then also the gravity effect. So it's kind of like Brave Marianne or like what Legendary Ninian does, but on herself, right? Where she's going to be dancing herself. This is very nice as it's going to just give you a lot more action economy. When it comes to roles, what does Emmeryn really want to do? She is a support unit mostly. She could do a little bit of nuking, but she's going to really struggle against like units with high DR because she doesn't have a way to get around that. But she can do a little bit of damage, right? She can also be a Gale Force unit, which is really cool because we don't really have many healers who can do that. So when it comes to game modes, I think she could be used on Aether Raid's offense and defense and summer duels. In Aether Raid's offense, she's going to be your typical support unit for your Omni tanks, where she can give out that neutralized penalty, which is very valuable currently. She can give out some visible buffs, stats, and healing. On a Gale Force team, what she can essentially do is act as a Wings of Mercy beacon. So she can kind of act like Ascended Florina, right? Where she can either engage and try to kill something and then have everybody warp into her. She can fall in a Wings of Mercy beacon, heal them, grant herself another action, and have everybody warp around her instead, which is really cool as well. And then she could possibly nuke something later on. You might have to get rid of like the far save, but even then she could kill some things, which is nice. And then in summer duels, I can see her being like a Omni tank raid boss support unit, as she offers like the healing. She can offer like penalty neutralization. She has action economy, which is really strong, and she offers some nice support as well. So I think she could definitely fit into like a majority of game modes and do really well. Okay, with all that said, let's move on to the next unit. Okay, next up is Lissa. Not a surprise. We saw her in the silhouettes. She's going to be our demote most likely. So we have a demote here with a preference weapon and times pulls 3 and defense and res finish fodder. This is extremely good fodder without even looking at our weapon. This is like very, very powerful, as this allows you to have like bridging fodder for units like Emblem Ike, which is really nice. And then times pulls 3 obviously is just always good to have more of, right? Because then you can either just use this or you can use it as like a chain for times pulls 4. But let's start talking about New War Axe, her preference weapon. So this has slaying, and then if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, she'll get a bonus to her attack, defense, and resistance equal to 25% of the foe's attack SR combat, so visible, right? -4. You're going to get a full tempo effect, and then you'll also get like the deep wounds halving effect, which I'm not a big fan of, but it does exist. So you've seen this like on Special Fighter 4 or on like Dual Alphons or Brave Claude. You're then going to get 80% damage reduction against the foe's follow-up attacks during combat, and this is Brave. And then finally, she'll have this really cool versatile effect where if her HP is greater than or equal to 70%, she'll get true damage based off X% of her defense. But if it's less than or equal to 70%, she'll actually restore that much HP based off her defense. And then X is going to be based off her max special cooldown count value times 10 plus 10. So if you have like a 4 cooldown special, right, this will be 50% of her defense, which is really nice healing effect. So very cool weapon, very interesting. As a demo, I think this is pretty cool. And when you combine this with a lot of the other current effects we have, right? We have a lot of powerful tanking options now with like Emblem Ike's Ring and Emblem Ike's Lagoo's Friend. And I think a lot of that will work really well with her. The one thing you have to consider is that her damage reduction, her big damage reduction is up on follow-up attacks, and it is pierceable. So that's something you have to consider. But having tempo means that she can loop specials really, really well. So I think when it comes to her main roles, her main role is going to be a tank. She'll be pretty good at it. I don't know if she's going to be like top tier, but she definitely has some unique effects that can allow her to heal for a ton and hit really hard. When it comes to game modes, I think you could use her in like Aether Raid's offense as an Omni tank with enough support options, and possibly like as a raid boss in summer duels as well. Mostly what I'm excited about though is that fodder, which is very nice. Let's move on to our final hero of the banner, the duo. Okay, and the duo of the banner is actually going to be female Robin and Chrom. Okay, let's start at the top with our preference weapon, Draconic Pax. So essentially what this is going to do is if you use a rally or a movement assist skill, so like reposition, shove, etc., and it's either used by Robin or on Robin, you're going to get special cooldown count -1 to Robin. And you're also going to inflict this new debuff called Hush Spectrum on foes within 3 rows or 3 columns. What Hush Spectrum essentially does, it's the opposite of Rally Spectrum. It's going to inflict -5 to all stats on the foe, and then if they have an offensive special, they're going to get an opposite of a special jump effect, where typically special jump accelerates your special. Instead, it's going to decelerate. So it's like a scowl effect, essentially, right? But also, if the foe has slaying and they have an offensive special, what will also happen is that the person attacking into them will get a special jump effect of 1 before their first attack during combat. So essentially what it does is just kind of like do the opposite of Rally Spectrum, where it essentially screws over the foe's special, making it much more difficult for them to get their specials off, while making it easier for yours to proc. So that's a really powerful effect, and it does work pretty well against Emblem Ike, so it's kind of interesting that it came out right afterwards. Also, if you have a rally or a movement assist skill like reposition is used by the unit or targets unit after unit has already performed an action, grants another action. So this is essentially the same as like to change fate, right? Where when you use reposition, you get another action. Now it is on female Robin, so female Robin is officially part of the family as she now has to change fate, which is very powerful. Then if she initiates combat or if she's within 2 spaces of an ally, she's going to inflict -X to all stats on the foe, where X is 16 minus the foe's maximum special cooldown, minimum of 8. You also get to reduce the damage from foe's first attack by 30%, and that's brave damage reduction. And you also get a neutralize anti-guard. We then have a new preference A skill, Fell Worm Scale. And this is essentially a start of combat. If your HP is greater than 25%, you're going to get plus 8 to all stats. You're going to neutralize the foe's bonuses. So like all visible stat bonuses will get neutralized. You'll get true damage equal to 50% of your attack during combat, not including AoEs. And also when your special triggers, you completely ignore DR from foe's non-special skills. And then finally, after combat, you'll heal 7 HP. We then have a new tier 4 B skill, Attack Speed Link 4. Essentially, this will be the same as like Attack Speed Link 3, but it also gives Canto 1 to the user as well as the person you are targeting. So that's pretty cool. Then you'll also inflict speed -4 and defense and res -2 on the foe during combat, and then you'll get true damage equal to the highest total attack and speed bonuses on any unit with Canto 1. So in this situation, it would typically be 12. So that's pretty strong there. And then last, we have Infantry No Fall 4 as well. And then we have her duo skill, which grants Rally Spectrum and Dual Strike to herself and any allies within 7 rows or 7 columns, centered on unit. This is an extremely powerful and insane duo skill. Essentially what this is going to be doing is making like you have all the Brave Robin support, right? You essentially are getting a ton more special acceleration and stats, but you're also getting Dual Strike, which can allow you to quad pretty easily. And the range is absolutely ridiculously big. 7 rows and 7 columns is typically like most of the map, so that's just an insane range. So when it comes to roles for Duo Robin, what does she really want to do? She's a nuke support like 100%, and she offers some very powerful support options and some very good nuking as well. When it comes to game modes, I expect to see this unit essentially everywhere. She like kind of just replaces Duo Crom in the meta, as while she doesn't exactly have to change fate, she pretty much does, as she has all the effects of it in the weapon. She doesn't give the special cooldown count -1 to her allies, but even so, being able to give it to herself while also offering this Hush Spectrum effect, which is going to be extremely meta relevant as a lot of units are relying on like cycling their specials, and this is a way to disrupt those. It's just going to be very, very good. She's going to have very strong nuking ability because she gets a ton of stats. She gets some damage reduction, which means she can survive. She's anti-guard, so she can consistently hit specials. Her specials pierce damage reduction, which means she's going to be able to hit really hard. And she even has a way to get around like visible buffs, which means that when she like fights into raid bosses, she can get around all those like bonus doubler effects, right? So I think she's going to be a very, very, very powerful unit. I expect to see this unit essentially everywhere, and her dual skill is just kind of ridiculously broken, so like you're going to see a lot of that in summoner duels for sure. So expect to see this unit essentially in every single game mode, because she is going to be one of the top tier nukes and top tier supports in the game, like 100%. There's just no way around that. Okay, well let's get to the final part of the video, should you pull. This banner is very strong. There's a lot of pros here. If these are your favorite characters, obviously you should be playing for favorites. That's the most important thing in Fae currently. But you also have a lot of powerful units. I think that Male Robin is essentially just a power crept version of like Brave Robin. So if you were using that unit, you have a better version essentially now. Duo Robin is going to be like a med defining support nuke. I think I expect to just see her like in every game mode, like I just mentioned. And Emmeryn is extremely interesting too. I think she's really unique and offers like a lot of different kinds of playstyles and can fit in a lot of different types of teams as well. So I think all 3 of those units are very good. When it comes to Lissa, I mean, she's going to be a pretty good tank, but I don't think she's going to be like a med defining tank like, let's say, Emblem Ike or like Legendary Lear or like Altina, right? But she is going to be pretty good, and she comes with really, really good fodder as well, so that's also a good reason to pull there. When it comes to some cons, Emblem Ike is currently running, and I do think Emblem Ike is a med-defining unit as well. He's probably the best Omni tank in the game, and his ring really opens up a lot of like build options for your entire barrack. So any of your favorite Omni tanks can use that Ike ring and get a lot better. So I think that's an option as well. Lagoose Friend 4 is also like an insane skill, so that's something you might want to think about as well. We also have the Hero Rises still active, so if you are still trying to pull on that banner, there's a lot of value there. And then also all the way in May, we do have an insane legendary banner, which does have Ike and Marth on it. So if you are trying to get the emblem rings and you really can't pull right now, you could pull in May and get both of those emblem rings if you save enough orbs. So that's also a good reason not to pull right now. Overall, this is a very powerful banner, which I guess should be expected as like Awakening is Intelligent System's favorite game. And so I will definitely be pulling on this banner. I think Female Robin is like not a must-have, but she's very, very good, and I'd love to use her. So that's where I'll be going. But now I'd love to hear from you. What do you think of this banner? Who are you going to be pulling for? Are you excited for like these new Awakening characters? Do you think these characters peaked at 8, or do some of their other versions have better value? I'd love to hear about it, so make sure to drop a comment down below. As always, I'd like to thank all my members for their constant support. This has been Oblivion. I'll catch y'all later with more Fire Emblem Heroes.